Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap, your nightly news podcast on all the news that I come across throughout the day, giving you my take as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. Hopefully, all you guys are doing wonderful. Hopefully, all you guys are doing well. Today is October 26th, and it is Saturday. Hopefully, all you guys got the relaxation that you needed throughout the weekend, and hopefully, all you guys got everything you need out of this weekend. It's definitely going to be um, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting week. Halloween week, everyone. So it'll be exciting, and hopefully everyone has, a wonderful week ahead of them. If, with that being said, though, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. All the support would be greatly appreciated, as we are trying to hit 500 subscribers before the end of the year on YouTube. And if you're on Substack, please also consider subscribing as well. All funds go to me. They help me pay for the things that I need to pay for in college, like groceries, like clothing, like all of that. But with that being said, quick little update on Halloween since I just mentioned it. I'm pretty sure that I will not be having an episode on Halloween. I'm going to be completely honest. I think I'm going to take the night off. I've been invited to a few parties and such, so I think I'm going to go do that. I planned out my Halloween costume today and everything. So, it wasn't originally the plan. I planned to work on Halloween, but there will be TikToks. There just likely won't be a news recap video. And outside of that, I think that's about all the updates I have. If I think of anything else, I'll let you guys know throughout the week. But I can for sure say that there is likely not to be a news recap on Halloween. With that being said, though, let's get into the news from today. Moving on into the Trump administration segment, as we do, we have one topic today as Trump joked about Mike Johnson being his puppets, or is joking about it. Trump is boasting about his control over the House leadership to insiders. Trump is reportedly claiming, I'm the Speaker and the President, according to the Daily Beast. As we've seen, Johnson has continuously defended Trump, along with doing other things to protect him, like blocking the release of the Epstein files, and much, much more, like defending the big, beautiful bill and all the other things. According to insiders, Trump claims the gavel belongs to him as much as it does to Johnson. Once again, my jaw stays in place on this one. There is nothing about this that is shocking at all, and I think most of us have thought this was the case for a majority of this administration. Just as Johnson is, Trump has so many puppets throughout the government, whether that be in the FBI, whether that be in the Department of Homeland Security. He's got his puppets everywhere, and that's why he is able to do what he does. I mean, the man even controls the Supreme Court at this point. It is an active problem and it needs to be changed. Genuinely, it does. It has created issues. It has allowed Trump to do whatever he pleases, which isn't great. It really isn't. And it's going to continue to be a problem until that can hopefully be changed in midterms. But we'll see. Positivity is key, is it? Positivity is key, everyone. I know how to English. Anyways, moving on into our other news segment where we have a bulk of our topics for tonight. The first one being, one is now dead and 6 have been injured at Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. At least one person has been killed and 6 have been wounded in a mass shooting at Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. The shooting took place at the school's International Cultural Center following a homecoming football game. One person has been detained, but officials believe there's a chance there was another shooter. But they also believe that this wasn't a planned attack, which I find interesting. Or maybe we'll get some updates on that one. If this wasn't planned, this is absolutely crazy because it shows how an attack can just happen with a gun, which isn't okay. I mean, if this was not planned, that means somebody walked into a school event or near a school event and just, maybe they got pissed off at someone and they decided to shoot into a crowd. Which is insane. Guns should not be anywhere near school campuses for one, but also they need to be regulated better. These shootings take place far too often in this country, and we are the only country throughout the world who has to deal with them far too often. There are other countries in the world who have guns. There are other countries in the world, who experience things and, who like have hunters and stuff like that. But they don't have as many shootings as we do en masse. And that's a massive problem. It really is. In other news, Gavin Newsom plans to give $140 million to keep Planned Parenthood clinics open. California Gavin Newsom has put up $140 million to keep Planned Parenthood clinics open throughout the state of California. This will keep a total of 109 clinics open across the state. Newsom said in a statement, Trump's efforts to defund Planned Parenthood put all of our communities at risk as people seek basic health care from these community providers. This is absolutely great news, and I'm glad to see California continuously stand up against this administration and work for its people. I mean, that's what politicians should be doing. They should be working for the people. Unfortunately, Trump is not doing that, nor do a majority of United States politicians, but thankfully it's being done here. Someone needs to do it. And although I don't like Newsom at all, I think he has been a terrible governor, the way he has managed the homeless crisis, the way he has failed at high speed rail, the way he has failed to reduce living costs in the state of California. I am grateful that he is actively willing to stand up for the Trump administration and protect Californians during the government shutdown, because somebody needs to do it. Let's go, California. Keep up the great work. Love my state, truly. In other news, the Washington Post is defending the tearing down of the East Wing. The Washington Post editorial board is praising the East Wing demolition. The editorial said, "The White House cannot simply be a museum to the past. Like America, it must evolve and maintain its greatness. Strong leaders reject calcification in a way Trump's undertaking is a shot across the bow at the NIMBYs everywhere." I don't know what that's supposed to stand for. I didn't look it up. I'm going to keep it completely honest. Anyways, Jeff Bezos is really pushing for those tax cuts. Interesting, but you'd think he's gotten enough, but I guess not. If we're claiming that the White House must evolve, how does a ballroom help that? Genuinely. I mean, we're getting rid of office space used by the First Lady and so many other people in the White House, which helps it function and helps it get by in its day to day, which you would think is kind of necessary, is it not? But also, like, we're getting rid of it for a ballroom. And last time I checked, balls haven't been in since like the 1980s, and maybe even before that, really. Like, I mean, outside of it being a thing historically for rich people, which isn't a good sign that the president is building a ballroom while people are struggling to live, while people cannot afford to live in the United States. It screams, let them eat cake. But there's no reason to call this an upgrade, because it's not. It's not at all. We are getting rid of actually useful space and putting in a ballroom. How is that an upgrade? Like, genuinely, it's not an upgrade at all. It is a waste of time and damage to a historical site, which is a historical site of the most impactful building in the country, arguably. I mean, everyone knows knows what the White House is. That's where the president lives, right? Like, it is insane to me that we are going to call this an upgrade when we are not only removing accessibility for people working in the White House, and we're not only removing office space for people working in the White House, but also, like, there is no point for this. We could be using this money, which is likely going to come from taxpayer dollars when Trump does his investigation and takes all that money from it. We could be using that money to help American citizens who are actively struggling on a daily basis, yet this administration would rather just, build a ballroom. Isn't that insane? Because it is. It really is. Anyways, moving on into our final topic for tonight. As mentioned, weekends are normally pretty short, but air traffic controller shortages have become an issue across the country. U.S. airports have reported that more than 20 incidents of shortages in air traffic controllers have happened today, having huge impacts on flights. LA International Airport had to issue a ground stop because of the lack of controllers at 11 a.m., and the restriction has covered most flights in the southern California region, which is very impactful as a lot of flights do come out of LA and other areas around there. According to FlightAware, which is a flight tracker, more than 5,300 flight delays took place on Saturday, and that number continues to grow as of Sunday. I find it really interesting that we can pay IS officers, but not an essential part of arguably the largest form of transportation in the country. I mean, the United States is pretty large. You can't just drive across it like you would be able to in Europe. We are a very large country. That's why air travel is, not only important, but like it's so used by Americans is because it makes it easier to get across the country. You could argue that air travel is essential when it comes to traveling in the United States. So you'd think that it would be, ranked higher to pay air traffic controllers than a masked Gestapo, wouldn't you? I mean, they are a necessary part of getting Americans around. They are a necessary part of getting people around. So you'd think it would be essential to pay for these workers. But for some reason, it isn't. I guess fascists would rather have their own private military that they can use however they please than actually be a successful country and actually benefit their people, just as we've seen throughout this entire administration. With that being said, though, thank you everyone for watching today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed. Weekends tend to be shorter, and hopefully it'll pick up tomorrow. I guess, less news is kind of better in a way, but outside of that, though, hopefully all you guys are doing wonderful. It has definitely been a very interesting day and a very interesting week. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. All the support is greatly appreciated as we are trying to hit 500 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the year. I think we can do it. So, drop a subscribe. And if you're on Substack as well, please also consider subscribing. All funds go to me. It'll make pay for the things that I need to pay for in college, like my groceries, like clothing, like all that. I've been doing the TikTok lives a lot more frequently, and I think I'm going to start doing that. I try to do that every weekend. So if you're interested in checking that out, go check out my TikTok. I'm going to try and do TikTok lives as frequent as possible because I think it's a great way to grow the page, and I think it's a great way to, talk to you guys and see what's going on. Outside of that, though, hopefully all you guys are doing wonderful. We're here building a political platform. So if you're interested in a country that actually helps its people, like providing free healthcare, like providing a better education system, having a better immigration system, and all those kinds of things, drop a subscribe. With that being said, though, thank you everyone for watching today's episode, and I will see you all tomorrow.